On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old Maura Murray, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, disappeared under circumstances that remain one of the most baffling mysteries in recent history. The events leading up to her vanishing have been meticulously analyzed and debated by investigators, true crime enthusiasts, and the online community, yet no solid answers have ever emerged. Maura's life, on the surface, appeared to be going well. She was a diligent student, a former cadet at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and had plans for the future. But as we now know, Maura's final days were anything but ordinary. In the week before she disappeared, a series of troubling events took place. On the night of February 5th, Maura was working her job as a campus security officer when she had what was described as an emotional breakdown. She was reportedly speaking with her sister over the phone about her sister's relationship troubles when she suddenly broke down in tears. Her supervisor had to escort her back to her dorm room. While this alone might seem insignificant, it adds to the larger puzzle of what was happening in Maura's life in those final days. On the day she vanished, Maura sent an email to her professors, claiming there had been a death in the family. A false statement, as no such death had occurred. She then packed her belongings from her dorm room, withdrew almost all of her money from the bank, roughly $280, and set off in her car, a black Saturn sedan, without informing anyone of her destination. She also made a few phone calls, including one to check on the availability of lodging in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It is crucial to note that Maura had been involved in a minor car accident just a few days earlier, where she had crashed her father's car. This may have added significant stress to her already fragile emotional state. However, her actions on the day she vanished, including the email to her professors, suggest a level of planning that indicates she was not simply reacting to recent events. Around 7 p.m. on February 9th, Maura's car crashed on Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire, a remote area surrounded by dense woods. A local resident, a school bus driver, stopped to offer assistance. He reported that Maura seemed uninjured and calm, but declined his help, claiming she had already called AAA. However, no such call was ever made. This would be the last confirmed sighting of Maura. Less than 10 minutes after the bus driver left the scene, police arrived, but by then, Maura was gone. Her car was locked, and her personal belongings, including her phone and credit cards, were left behind. There were no footprints in the snow leading away from the scene, no signs of a struggle, and no indication of where Maura could have gone. For days, search teams combed the area with dogs, helicopters, and ground crews. But despite their efforts, no trace of Maura was found. The only clue was a rag stuffed into the tailpipe of her car, which some speculated could have been an attempt to sabotage the vehicle. However, no clear answers emerged from this piece of evidence. Theories about Maura's disappearance have run the gamut from the plausible to the bizarre. One of the most popular theories is that Maura left voluntarily, either to escape personal troubles or to start a new life. This theory is supported by her actions before the disappearance, packing her belongings, withdrawing cash, and booking lodging in a remote area. Some believe she may have been picked up by someone she knew, or that she fled into the woods to avoid detection. Another theory is that Maura met with foul play. Given the isolated location of her crash and the timing of her disappearance, some suggest she may have been abducted by a passing stranger or encountered someone with ill intent while trying to get help. However, no signs of a struggle were found, and no evidence of a third party has ever emerged. Others believe Maura may have succumbed to the elements after wandering into the woods and becoming disoriented. February in New Hampshire is bitterly cold, with temperatures often dropping below freezing. If Maura had ventured into the wilderness, it's possible she could have perished from exposure. However, no body or trace of her has ever been discovered, despite extensive searches. Maura's family continues to search for answers, and her case remains open. Over the years, new leads and tips have surfaced, but none have led to any significant breakthroughs. The disappearance of Maura Murray remains an unsettling enigma, a case where every detail leads to more questions than answers. On the morning of December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey, the mother of 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant John Bennett Ramsey, called 911 to report her daughter missing. Patsy frantically told the dispatcher that she had found a ransom note demanding $118,000 for her daughter's safe return. The note, a bizarre and lengthy letter, claimed John Bennett had been kidnapped, and her captors warned against contacting the police. However, just a few hours later, John Bennett's body was discovered in the basement of the Ramsey family home in Boulder, Colorado. She had been brutally assaulted, her skull fractured, and she had been strangled with a garrote fashioned from a piece of cord and a broken paintbrush handle. The discovery of her body within the house itself was the first major twist in a case that would captivate the world and generate endless speculation. From the beginning, the investigation into John Bennett's murder was marred by mistakes. The crime scene was poorly secured, and friends and family members were allowed to enter and leave the house, potentially contaminating crucial evidence. The media quickly picked up on the story, and soon the entire world was watching the investigation unfold in real time. The ransom note left at the scene became one of the most scrutinized pieces of evidence in the case. Handwritten on paper from a notepad found inside the Ramsey home, the note was unusually long, over 2 pages, and included detailed instructions along with a ransom amount of $118,000, which was nearly the exact amount of John Bennett's father, John Ramsey's, recent bonus. The peculiarities of the note led many to speculate that it had been staged, possibly by someone inside the house. As investigators examined the evidence, suspicion began to fall on the Ramsey family themselves. The behavior of both John and Patsy Ramsey in the days following John Bennett's death was seen as odd by some, and their decision to hire legal representation and avoid extensive police interviews only fueled speculation that they might be involved in the crime. However, there were also signs that pointed to the possibility of an intruder. A broken window in the basement suggested someone might have entered the house that night, and an unidentified male DNA sample was found on John Bennett's clothing. This DNA has never been matched to anyone in the Ramsey family, leading some investigators to believe the real killer may have been an unknown individual who broke into the home. Over the years, theories about John Bennett's murder have ranged from a botched kidnapping to a tragic accident covered up by her parents. Some have speculated that her older brother, Burke, who was 9 years old at the time, may have been involved, either intentionally or unintentionally, and that the ransom note was an attempt by the parents to protect him. Despite the countless theories, media coverage, and even a grand jury indictment against the Ramseys in 1999, no one has ever been officially charged in John Bennett's murder. The case remains open, and the Boulder Police Department continues to investigate new leads as they arise. To this day, John Bennett Ramsey's murder stands as one of the most infamous unsolved cases in American history. The questions surrounding her death: who wrote the ransom note? How did an intruder get into the house? Why has the DNA never been matched? Continue to haunt investigators, the media, and the public. In recent years, advances in forensic technology, including DNA testing, have given hope that John Bennett's killer might one day be identified. However, as of now, the case remains cold, and John Bennett's death remains a painful, unsolved tragedy that looms large in the annals of true crime. On the morning of December 1st, 1948, the body of an unidentified man was discovered on Somerton Beach, near Adelaide, Australia. Dressed in a well-tailored suit and polished shoes, he looked as though he could have been asleep, propped up against a seawall, his legs outstretched and feet crossed. But the man was dead, and the mystery surrounding him would only grow more puzzling as the details of his death came to light. The first strange detail that caught investigators' attention was that the man carried no identification, none at all. His pockets contained only a few personal items: a pack of cigarettes, a comb, and some chewing gum. But what was even more unusual was that every label in his clothing had been meticulously removed. It was as if someone had gone to great lengths to erase any trace of his identity. The autopsy revealed no obvious cause of death. There were no signs of trauma, no wounds, and no immediate evidence of poisoning. His heart appeared normal, and his internal organs were healthy. However, further examination suggested that the man might have died from heart failure, possibly induced by a rare poison that left no trace. Yet, no conclusive evidence of this was found. As the investigation deepened, police found a small cryptic clue that would only add to the mystery. Hidden inside a secret pocket in the man's trousers was a tiny scrap of paper with 2 words, "Tamam shud." The phrase, in Persian, translates to, "It is finished," and is famously associated with the final verse of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book of Persian poetry. Investigators launched an intense search for the origin of the scrap of paper. Their efforts led them to a man who had discovered a copy of the Rubaiyat in the back seat of his car, parked near Somerton Beach. In this copy of the book, the last page, containing the phrase "Tamam shud," had been torn out. Inside the back cover of the book, they found a series of strange letters that appeared to be a code. Despite numerous attempts by cryptographers, including experts from the military, the code has never been cracked. The investigation then took a strange turn when a woman, identified only as Jestin, came forward, claiming she recognized the man. She said she had given a copy of the Rubaiyat to a man named Alfred Boxall during World War II. Police initially believed they had found the identity of the Somerton man, but when Boxall was found alive and well, still in possession of his copy of the book, the case took another dead-end turn. To this day, the Somerton man's identity, cause of death, and the meaning behind the code remain unsolved. Was he a spy, as some have suggested, involved in Cold War espionage, his death orchestrated by an intelligence agency? Or was he a man who took his own life, leaving behind cryptic clues as a final message to the world? Theories abound, but none have been proven, and the Somerton man continues to be one of Australia's most haunting cold cases. In 2021, investigators exhumed the body of the Somerton man in hopes that modern DNA technology might finally provide answers. But until the results are fully analyzed, the mystery of the Somerton man endures. A chilling reminder that some secrets are buried far deeper than we may ever realize.